Well, good morning and welcome to Following On Ashes Inquest. I'm Jon Norman, talkSPORT's cricket editor, and alongside me for the next half an hour or so is two-time Ashes winner and the main man when it comes to talkSPORT cricket, Steve Harmison. We're going to be looking back at one of those days, one of the most ridiculous days, and there's been a few, of Ashes cricket. 19 wickets falling on day one in Perth. And if England and Australia could actually bowl 90 overs, then England might be 5 down in second innings by now. It might have been a 25-wicket day. It wasn't, but it was still extraordinary. Harmy, going to be alongside me. I'm going to start with this. I'm going to give you Mitchell Starc. I'm going to give you Jofra Archer. I'm going to give you Bryden Carson. And I'm going to give you Ben Stokes. Who bowled the best today?
Oh, I mean, it's so difficult to... I think what I would say is Mitchell Starc set the tone, and he was under the most pressure because he was the one that had to take the first ball. He was the one that his team had lost the toss and bowled first on what perceived to be going to be a flattish wicket, a batter-friendly wicket. So I think he was the one, probably the standout. I don't think he was backed up as well as what Stokes, who's the headline act and the leading wicket taker for England. I thought England were relentless. I mean, for 39 overs, I mean, I could probably count on one hand how many bad balls they bowled and still have fingers spare. Where Mitch Starc bowled absolutely brilliant, but bowling went at six and a bit and over. Duggett bowled nicely. So I think Starc bowled probably the best because he was under the most pump. I think England bowled the best as a unit because they had to get themselves back in the game. So you could argue that as a team, England were under the same amount of pressure. But for me, Starc was fantastic. And, the whole England bowling unit were, up to a man, absolutely brilliant. Any one of them could have had the 5 foot.
Can I just say something? We're going to go through an extraordinary day, and I'm sure most of our viewers and listeners on talkSPORT 2 and also the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel are aware of what has occurred on day one at Perth. But essentially, England bowled out for 172 and Australia in reply 123 for 9. So 19 wickets falling in the day. And it was extraordinary, pretty much from the first over when Zach Crawley was dismissed to the penultimate over of the day when Scott Boland departed. In terms of the match day itself, can you think of many more extraordinary opening days or any days in Ashes cricket in recent times, the last, 20, 30 years? I mean, we've had some ridiculous final day Ashes days. I mean, Headingley 2019 and all of that. But in terms of a day one, I'm struggling to think of anything that stands up to this one.
No, not on a day one. You go back to Edgbaston 2005 when England got 408 for 8 in 80 overs in day one. That was a day where it was cricket fast forwarded in a time where cricket wasn't played as fast forward as what it is now. I can't think of too many other opening days where, especially in the last 15 years, because England haven't won it in the last 15 years, and away from home England, it's been a non-contest, has it really? So as epic days go, I think Melbourne was an epic day when Cook and Strauss, when England won it, but not many as gripping as this. I mean, people set their alarms at 2:00 in the morning, so I didn't go to bed. I stayed up, and it was one of them ones where normally you get a lull in the sort of afternoon period where if you have stayed up all night, you're sort of nodding off. You've got the nodding dog on, and similar, if you're getting up, you're really, really tired. At not one point did I feel as though I was going to go fall asleep. Not one point did I feel as though the game was starting to sort of meander. It was absolutely gripping from literally the first ball to the last ball, the wicket of Zach Crawley to the wicket of Scott Boland. So from that point of view, no, I don't think we've seen too many Ashes days like that, never mind the first day.
Who will be having regrets today? As they go to sleep tonight, which of the 19 batters, and maybe one of the bowlers, by the way, because we're going to talk about one Australian bowler who didn't have quite as good a day as Mitchell Starc, who will be going to bed tonight feeling a little bit deflated?
Oh, it's such a difficult question because you could literally go with Zach Crawley for the shot he played. you know what? The one I'm really disappointed at, and the one that I hope he has, and I think Australia need to have a look at this as well. When you talk about setting the tone, and you talk about bowling England out for 172, you've got 38-year-old who's played a hell of a lot of cricket who didn't come out opening the batting.
Ooh,
because
you're going with Khawaja.
According to Cricket Australia, he was having toilet breaks
and stretching.
Now, I mean, there's some dozy things goes on with the England cricket team, and they do some kamikaze stuff at times. But I tell you what, I do not believe that even Jacob Bethel, who very relaxed, very laid back, and I think people in that knows what the England cricket team are like. Even someone like Jacob, who is a bit wet behind the ears, green to the game of cricket, and new to international cricket. I don't even think he would have made that mistake. If you're off the field and you can't open the batting in an Ashes Test match when there's 51,000 people there because of toilet breaks and stretching, he is the one, I think. If Usman Khawaja wasn't under pressure anywhere, because a lot of deflection has gone against him with 6 different opening batters in the last few years since Warner's gone. Weatherall opening the batting because he is new and he is the new man on the block, 31-year-old, getting out second ball. And all the pressure that Marnus Labuschagne's been on, being dropped from the side, is he going to come back to open? Is he going to bat 3? He's just scored 3 400s for Queensland as number 3. And you're going, right, we've got our Stettle side back. I think the man who might go to bed tonight with regret is Usman Khawaja.
Okay, that's a great answer. And I wasn't expecting you to say that. Feel free.
Who are you expecting me to say?
Well, I can't. Do you know what? In and amongst all the madness, and I've been up since 2 a.m. as well. I've never felt more awake, by the way.
I know.
But you know, looking through that England card, I didn't come away from it thinking England threw it away there. There's been times when I've been really frustrated at times by the shot selection. But yeah, Zach Crawley first up. But Harmy, of all the people in the world, you can understand that maybe things don't always go right. There's a lot going on in your mind for that first over or so. I mean, Zach Crawley's a man that's faced up that first ball, and it's Mitchell Starc bowling it. I mean, but, Duckett, good ball. Joe Root, maybe could have been playing straighter, but good ball.
Good ball.
Ollie Pope, a touch unfortunate. Harry Brook, trying to get out the way of one. Atkinson, maybe, but, he's not Atkinson, sorry. Cast, maybe trying to hit a 6 to the boundary at square leg, which is so long, and you've got Jamie Smith at the other end, but he's not in the side to bat, right? So I came away from England's innings not really feeling angry about the way they'd gone about things. I came away from it thinking Mitchell Starc bowled brilliantly, and it just didn't happen. What about the contrasting styles then? Because it's funny, England go about things, they get bowled out in 32 overs, and they're all out for 172. And you can just hear, you know what everyone's saying at the halfway stage. Lack of preparation. They've gone for millionaire Hollywood shots. They've gone Bazball. They should have stuck it out, see off the first 20 overs and then cash in, blah, 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 blah. And yet that's exactly what Australia tried to do. And look at the score, 123 for 9. So the two very different styles, and essentially the end result is kind of the same.
Yeah, I get that. And you look at, I looked at it, I think it was tea time. Australia were 15 for 1 off 10 overs. England had batted for 32 overs and got 172. You talk about the contrasting style. I think England, will fall foul many, many times, other than Adelaide, of realising how big the boundaries are in this country, in Australia. I think every single one is going to be played on the biggest boundary that you could possibly play on. So you're right when you summed up the dismissals. I look at this and think the bowling's been fantastic, absolutely relentless. Starc, I think if Starc had Cummins and Hazelwood at the other end, England might have only got 120, and they might have been looking at a sort of parity for where we are at this moment in time, because I think there was some pressure released, partly down to good batting, because I think Harry Brook and Ollie Pope Pope was a bit fidgety as he normally is, frantic at the start, but then played some lovely shots down the ground. So Australia got their plans absolutely brilliant. They got that 4-1 to Pope. The bowled, duck it, and they let him get away a little bit. But knowing you've got that plan, I think it's hard to throw it out. I mean, it's easy to throw it out when the opener's 20 off 20 balls and you're going, oh no, what are we going to do now? Then you start bringing your length back. They just kept that length and said, right, we're going to bowl full, you'll miss one and we'll get rewarded. And I thought, Stark did well that way. When you look at, the England's proactiveness and trying to play on the front foot, trying to be aggressive, I think that's got them to a score which was never ever going to be enough, but it gives them hope on a surface, which they knew they had a little bit in. And for me, the biggest thing for me was the ability to bowl, a tight over from each end. Atkinson and Archer started it, and then obviously Stokes got the reward at the end. And I don't think Australia really knew whether to have a go or try and sit in. Travis came out.
I tell you what, I'll stop you there because I want to talk to you about this because again, this is fascinating for me. If you do want to get involved, by the way, drop us a message in the chat facility on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. We've also already got a lot of comments there. Longhurst Golf Club says, what a day. Woke early to disappointment, but given the pitch and that bowling battle, it made for a great watch. As Harmy said, not a quiet over all day. So get in contact on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel or message us. If you're listening on talkSPORT 2, message us on X, cricket_TS. Hutch D, and this is where I want to come to you, Harmy. Hutch D 8687 says, Aussies to jettison Khawaja and open with Marsh. Now, that comes into things because, there was at one stage, and forget the reason he didn't open, but you got Labuschagne, who is 8 or 9 not out from 40-odd deliveries. You got Steve Smith, who's the same from 40. By the way, Jofra Archer continued hurting him, didn't he? He got banged on the elbow, on the finger. He got banged on the elbow again. They were getting absolutely peppered. There was some shouts that were caught behind. And essentially, Australia were trying not to play. They were playing when they had to, but they were essentially trying to get past that 20-over stage. And in the end, that actually was the undoing of Labuschagne because it was trying not to play that meant he tried to get the bat out of the way of the ball and the ball cannoned down onto the stumps. But can you really, if we are going to be faced by these ridiculous, not ridiculous pitches actually, it wasn't that bad a pitch for batting, but if Australia are going to be serving up these more English-style pitches, then do they have the batting lineup to cope? Because Khawaja goes at a strike rate of about 40, Labuschagne goes at a strike rate of about 40, and even Smith is not pushing the dial past 45, 50. If you're just hankering back and bunkering down and hoping to get through to that 20, 30 over stage, I'm not actually sure that's the right way to go about it. And you can see why already people are talking about maybe getting Mitchell Marsh back.
Yeah, it's a valid point. Mitchell Marsh at the top of the order against Jofra Archer, I think would have been
wow, a
lot better as a right-hander.
What a spectacle that would have been, by the way.
Yeah, it would have been a lot easier. Not a lot easier. Jofra just didn't look fun at all. Mark Wood looked less fun, and he didn't pick up a wicket in his 5 overs, and it was great to see him back in firing. But when you look at it, and you see if they're going to play on these pitches, especially if they're going to bounce, then 20 overs is a long time. 20 overs is a long time when you're facing ball. They're bowling 10 kilometers an hour faster than the Aussie bowlers. Majority of the Aussie bowlers. Bowling was at 134, 138. Doggett was at 134, 138. Stark was at 138, 141. Mark Wood's first over was 148, 149, 149. His second over started with a 151. Archer was at 148 kph. That in itself makes a huge amount of difference. If you're going to try and leave it, that split second you've got less to make a decision to leave it or play it. England in the first 10 overs bowled 2 balls that were going to hit the stumps.
Yeah.
2 balls, right? England's top 6, 3 of them were caught. 2 of them were caught behind in the slips. 1 was caught behind, 2 LBW and a bowled. So Australia were bowling the stumps. But if you're bowling 10 kilometres an hour slower, you see what happened with Smith. You see what happened with Labuschagne. They're indecision. They don't have to be bowling at stumps because it can cannon in from anywhere. So these are the little things that I think Australia probably need to look at. There's going to be a lot of talk about Khawaja. There's going to be a lot of talk about Weatherald. He faced 2 balls in Test cricket.
Well,
let me
stop you there because I do want to talk about Scott Boland. Getting loads of comments through. If you're joining us on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, we're going to be doing this after every day's play. Half an hour after stumps, me and Harmy. I don't know how many days we're going to get in this Test match, by the way. But one of the points that's coming, it could be over tomorrow. One of the points coming through is, look, this pitch actually could get a little bit better. And it's the Bazball approach that allowed England to get Australia in to then bowl them out. I mean, that's high risk strategy if that's what this is all about. But essentially, that's kind of worked. Connor Dowdle says England have never won the speed gun. I mean, to have the 2 quickest bowlers across both sides on the English side, and then Australia, as again, and comments come through, they've just prepared English-style pitches for the visiting English. It doesn't make sense. And now it's England who've come in with the faster bowlers as well. But on a bowling-dominated day, and we go back to them at the second question I asked you, Harmy, who's going to be feeling a touch of a pang of regret tonight? There's going to be a few batters who are going to be looking back at their dismissals and feeling, okay, got to do better next time, which is completely fair enough. But Scott Boland was going at 6s. He bowled 10 overs. He didn't bowl a single maiden. And he didn't look threatening particularly. Duckett was coming down the track to him. Everyone was essentially feasting on him. Have Australia got a problem there?
Possibly. I think when you look at someone like Scott Boland, he bowled to the plan for the first over where he bowled it a little bit tighter to Ben Duckett. And then he just dragged his length back a little bit. And for me, that's not the way to bowl at Ben Duckett. And then once he's come from dragging his length back, Ben left him a couple of times. He got a few sort of tucks away down leg side. He got a 4, I think, down leg side. It might be on leg by. And then all of a sudden, you could see Boland change his length again and go back fuller. But when he went back fuller, he just floated it. And you've got to bowl at conviction. And this is what I mean. The 10 kilometres an hour faster that England bowlers had. Carse was quicker than Mitchell Starc. So England had 3, and the odd one from Atkinson. Atkinson was in and around Starc pace. So when you look at all that, I think the scars of England possibly having an effect. We don't know. He's only bowled 10 overs. He might have just a touch of nerves. We'll see what happens in the second innings. But when he went that fuller again, that's what would have worried me because he went floaty. And when you go floaty at 135 kilometres an hour, you just get belted. And even Ben Duckett was belting it down the ground. Ollie Pope was belting it down the ground. And they're 2 players who, if you get them playing down the ground in England, I mean, the wicketkeeper and slip are just standing there waiting to gobble the chances up. I just looked as though there's a possible, fraction of nerve. But I tell you what, I'd be concerned. And this is where it comes back to what we talked about. All the way into the build-up. If England get on top, if England go on to win, all of a sudden you've got to make a decision on Hazelwood and Cummins, because the likelihood is if you don't win that first Test match, it'll probably be down to your bowling attack because their batting, I thought they'll be a lot stronger. But they've got some serious questions to answer, and we're one day in. And I think them questions to be answered is a lot down to the game plan. How you bowl at England's top order and how you face England's top order. And that, I think everybody knew that could be an issue. And it surfaced after, 8 hours of the series.
What did you make of Ben Stokes' decision to bat first?
I think it's just on history. Do you know what? I've had this feeling with Ben and with Brendan. And it didn't come with the batting, but... Michael Vaughan's talked about Bazball with brains. I think a lot of us talked about the smart version of, Ben and Brendan's decision-making and the team's decision-making. I thought it was a smart decision. History tells you 5 games, you bat first.
History told you that you should bat first at Old Trafford in 2023. And he laughed in the face of Mike Atherton when Athers dared to suggest that no, no captain had ever won the toss, bowled, and won an Ashes test. I just found it a little bit like, maybe it is. Maybe it's exactly as you say, baseball with brains. As we saw this summer, by the way, we seemed to see a different England side against India earlier this year. And you know what, Harmy? If not for that injury, horrible injury to Chris Wakes, I think England win that Oval Test.
Yeah, I get that.
And they do win that series. They do win a series against a big three team because that is missing from the CV. Ben knows it. Brendan knows it.
Possibly because that's the decision. The decision to bat first is we have made so many minor mistakes and we haven't won. Australia at home, India at home. We haven't won because we possibly made just a little error. And I think going off history, I wonder if he's had a conversation with Ryan Campbell. Ryan Campbell, who's Durham's coach, who's Mr. Western Australia. Marcus North, Durham Director of Cricket, Mr. Western Australia. I know they wouldn't have played him. They'd have played in the Wacker, not in the Optus. But games that have been played there, they'll say that it gets better, it breaks up, bat first, and that's the decision. Both Marcus and Ryan are captains. They were captains of Western Australia, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's been thrown into the mix as well as the fact that he's maybe just thought, you know what, the best decision for us on this surface is to go out and play the baseball way. And that's what everybody in Australia wants us to do. It nearly backfired. But the ball was set up.
It makes me laugh, Harmy, because all we've heard, there's definitely been a mood change in Australia because a month or so ago, every Australian I spoke to when I would suggest that England were going to challenge, let alone win the Ashes, they'd just laugh. And then with about a week or two to go, and partly, big reason is because Pat Cummins, of course, got injured for the first test, and then Josh Hazlewood as well. That laughter just was starting to get a little bit quieter, and then suddenly started to get a bit serious. And then suddenly, the last few days, and Australians are terrible, terrible winners, right? Terrible winners. They're actually quite gracious losers. When I was out there in 2010-11 and I was expecting to give it back to all these Aussies that had given me pelters 4 years ago for wearing a Barmy Army top, they weren't anywhere to be seen. Everyone patting me on the back and saying, well played, your guys are much better than us. That was starting to come through a little bit. And now within 24 hours, not even within 24 hours of the start, we're an hour after stumps. And all I can see is people saying, Sam Conster should play, Mitchell Marsh should play, Bazball's the way forward. I mean, we've only had one day of the Ashes and they already want to be doing Bazball.
Yeah, I mean, but is that not society? Is that not the way everybody's got an opinion? I was going to say something there, but we're live on radio. So
we are live on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, Harmy. Both are quite strong on swearing, so don't do it.
On swearing. So no, I can't use the sort of the terminology I want to use. But look, it's the modern way. It's social media. It's the everybody's got an opinion. We've seen in the build-up, we've had former cricketers have their say because they haven't got any work and they want to make a headline. You've got YouTubers.
You talking about yourself?
Yeah, exactly. Myself, I've been guilty of making a strong point the wrong way many, many times. And we've got YouTubers and influencers and people who love the game of cricket have got their say. I mean, tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to St James's Park where Eddie Howe. I mean, he's 4 years into being a manager at Newcastle United. He was 19th when he took over. Been in the Champions League twice, won a first trophy in 70 years, and some morons want him sacked. This is just the way society, unfortunately, is. And if Australia keep making mistakes like they have done, in the last sort of 8 hours, then you are going to look and has George Bailey? This is the biggest one for me. Has George Bailey got it in him to either back this team? And we're only one day in. We've only had one bad day from Australia. Has he got it in him to back this team? Or has he, like Steve Waugh says, has he got it in him to make big decisions? And that will be, hopefully, the topic of conversation come the end of this test match because England would have won. So I looked at the Australian side. The bowling of Boland and, one or two others concerned a little bit. The batting, getting 121 for 9 concerned me a little bit.
Let me ask you a quick question because
the energy in the group was poor.
We're just running out of time here. We're going to be back tomorrow, but we've had two messages here. One from Foss Jam. He says Steve Smith is super tough, but when you see him being battered and smashed, you know you're on top. I mean, he's one of the best batters that has ever played the game, top 5, and he got struck. He was ducking, weaving, really struggling. There was some deliveries where he laughed. The ball was too good. You know, when you see him at home going through that, what does that tell you about England's bowlers? And also, just to finish up as well, Ben Duckett is the key, says item number 420. He plays well and England win. If Duckett plays well, England win. Looking ahead to day 2, Crawley with a big booming drive first over again and all over by stumps on day 2. I mean, it could be, couldn't it?
It could be all over by stumps on day 2. Tea time definitely on day 3. Joe Root's going to hopefully stand up. Ben Duckett, yes, will be key. And if Zach Crawley sees one to give the big booming drive, he will hit it. And you talked about Steve Smith and that blow that Cameron Green took. Actually, Cameron Green looked very good.
Yeah,
he looked very good. I thought he looked really good with the bat. But that blow he took.
Yeah.
Wow.
From Mark Wood.
That's a statement and a half to Australia.
And that's his home pitch.
That's his home pitch. And he looked $1 million. That was hitting the middle of the bat. One of the only ones that timed it properly on that wicket from Australia, and he got a good hit. So with Smith, with Labuschagne jumping around, with Green hit in the head on his own back garden, I think this England side have set a marker down. For the last 3 years, they've been coming to Australia with 5 fast bowlers of 90 mile an hour to hit Australia hard. And that first day of Ashes cricket, boy, have they done it.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Harmy, thanks for your time. There'll be plenty more reaction across on talkSPORT today. We've got all the big names. If you want to hear reaction to a 19-wicket day, the likes of Harmy and Bumble and Goffey and the likes, that will be throughout the day on talkSPORT. We'll be back here on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel tomorrow and also on talkSPORT 2 from 10:30, I think, until 11 a.m. Either way, between 10 and 11. Make sure you're here. As soon as Stumps is called, head to the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel and talkSPORT 2. But for now, thanks for joining us on Following On Ashes Inquest.